What is up, people? Welcome back to another video, and today I want to talk to you about a really cool knife company that I'm sure most of you watching know about, but that is Vero Engineering. Before we get into that though, I just want to let y'all know I do have an Instagram page. It's linked down below, and there you can follow along to see what knives I'm carrying, stuff that happens in between these YouTube videos. So make sure you give it a like and check it out. I totally regret not having picked up a Vero sooner because these knives are incredible. So that being said, I want to specifically do a comparison of 3 knives in a Vero family tree, and that is the Synapse line. Starting off, we have the Synapse, just the Synapse, and this is kind of like the middle child of the line. It comes in an overall length of 7.35 inches. The blade length is 3.19 inches. It has a cutting edge of 3.10 inches, and the closed length is 4.15 inches. The blade steel on this one is M390, and that is the same as the rest of them. The Synapse that I have is one that has a marbled carbon fiber handle and a belt satin blade. I really think this knife is the perfect one out of all 3 that we'll be looking at today as far as EDC size knives are concerned. Just for what I generally like, I lean towards 3.5 inches or smaller in blade length when it comes to pocket knives that I like to carry day in, day out. Now, what we will see in all 3 of these versions is that they have the same opening methods. They have either this milled pocket right here that is, I think, really cool and innovative, as opposed to a regular opening hole. And then they have the flipper tab, the Vero flipper tab. And what I think is really, really great about this is that it gives you the ease of opening with a flipper, but it doesn't have this piece of metal that just juts out to the side. It flows really well, perfectly with the knife, and I just think it's really excellently designed and executed. I will say though, with the milled pocket square, it does take a little bit of getting used to. Again, that's not a normal opening shape for me. I'm used to circles or some type of oval, something like that. So a rectangle is definitely different, but once you get used to it, it opens really well. I will say each version, I think you kind of have to leverage it at different places. So on this regular size one, I can get it pretty low, close to the bolster. But when I get to the smaller one, the mini version, and I think even with the large full-size version, I have to get it a little bit further up, down closer to where the pocket clip kind of runs in line with it. What is really cool too about the opening method is it actually just kind of reminds me a lot of the Spyderco Smock and how it's designed. Its flipper tab is designed into the shape of the knife closed as well, and it also goes into the shape of the knife when it's open. So the flipper tab on the Vero would actually be right here when it's open, and again right there, little nub when it's closed. Now moving on to the next knife, we have the mini version. This version comes in an overall length of 6.6 inches. The blade length is 2.87 inches. It has a cutting edge of 2.8 inches, and closed it is 3.75 inches. The scales on this one are a brown canvas micarta, and like the last Synapse, it has a belt satin finish. What I like to do is put either the regular or mini version in my Tale of Knives Slim Mini Pocket Trio, and I carry them either that way in my coat pocket or in my sling pouch with my wallet and my phone. Looking at the pocket clips though, they are really well done. They're not deep carry by any means, but they are deep enough to where they don't jut out of the top of your pocket like other knives. What is really great about them though is that if you want something a little bit more quote unquote flashy or cool, Vero offers Timascus pocket clips and back spacers for many of their knives, and I have been told that that is really top-notch Timascus. Now, seeing these 2 knives on screen, you might be thinking that the size differences aren't that bad, and I would agree with you. At first, I was kind of shocked at the mini version. It's only just a little bit smaller, But when I got them both in hand, however, I noticed the differences almost immediately. The regular Synapse just keeps feeling like a full-size knife, and you can tell that the mini version, it's a mini version, but it also does give you that confidence in hand that it's a good knife that is up to almost any cutting task. Now, like I've said, the regular Synapse is a near perfect EDC size knife, and the mini version is a near perfect secondary. And we can debate the primary versus secondary knife topic later, but if that is something that you value in your carry, just keep that in mind, that these pair really well together. So if you're someone who fancies small knives and small knives only, I think the mini version is definitely worth checking out. And I'm also excited about it because I did get some matching scales for the mini version so that the mini and my regular size Synapse can match. And that's just fun. And now it's time to get to the big one, the XL. Now, if I had a choice, I would have my own that is in belt satin, and I would have either a micarta or a marbled carbon fiber handle. But this one was actually sent to me by a friend, so I really appreciate it. I still dig the colors a lot. I am a Georgia football fan. I went to school there. So I do really like this knife. Even though it's not what I would prefer, I still think it's great. Also, thank you for letting me check it out and making this video possible, because what's the point of a comparison between all three if you don't have all three, am I right? Now, the overall length of the XL is 8.85 inches. The blade length is 3.78 inches, and the cutting edge is 3.74 inches. And closed, it's 5 inches long. So let's put this into perspective, okay? The blade length on the XL is 0.03 inches bigger than the mini version when it's closed. So let's, again, having all three, let's do it. It is, I mean, look at that. That's a big blade. The blade is bigger than this knife closed. That's just massive when you compare those two. And the closed length of the XL is longer than the blade length of the regular Synapse. So let's, again, closed, it's massive. It dwarfs it. I mean, look at that. This knife is huge. It is like just kind of crazy. Again, this might sound like I'm dogging on it. I'm not. It's shocking how much larger the XL is compared to the next step down, which is the regular version. When these two, the regular and the mini, are pretty decently close as far as like scaling, this one the XL just blows it out of the water. You might as well just call it the Synapse double XL. It is huge. And that's okay. That's great. This is an awesome knife because it's just as good as the other two. And it's just, I was taken aback at how big it was. I cannot stress it enough how big and massive this thing is compared to the mini. And it makes the regular feel tiny in comparison as well. I mean, you can just see the lineup right here. I mean, it just dwarfs the mini. And I think it absolutely still dwarfs the regular version. And it's just crazy. Even when we compare it to the largest knife in my collection, the Spyderco Shaman, the Synapse XL still just feels massive. And like it does look a little bit bigger in overall length, and I don't have the exact specs in front of me, but I think what makes the Shaman still feel bigger and has the illusion of it being a bigger knife is the height of it when it comes to when it's closed. So when we close the Shaman and we put the XL on top, you can see that the Shaman has a taller blade. So I think it's just really interesting how with the XL, it's big, but it doesn't feel big. And in the hand, it doesn't feel big. In the pocket, and I think it's just because it's more of a narrow line type of knife. It just goes straight. It doesn't have humps or ridges. It has, slight angles. It has gradual, curves to it. But overall, I would call this a straight, flat knife. And this is why such a large knife can still retain the sensation of being a reasonably sized EDC knife. is because it is not that tall when closed. It doesn't have any crazy humps, curves, or anything like that. It's just very flat, very straight, and it's just really, really well made. So let's just look at them lined up pivot to pivot one more time, and you can just really tell the size differences. The XL lives up to the name. Should be called the double XL in my opinion, but it doesn't feel double XL at all. The regular version I think is the perfect size EDC knife, and the mini version goes really well with both of these. I just think that all three of these are phenomenally well made. And I just want to say, I think that what's really cool about them is they still perform just as good as the next one when it comes to opening and closing and functionality. The mini version opens superbly. The regular version just as well, with both flipper tabs and milled pockets. And then the XL, I will say with the XL, obviously it opens really well. Flicking it through with the pocket clip, you know, you got to figure it out. But that bigger, heavier blade, it'll come down a little bit on you. It's a little bit more drop shutty than the other two, and I don't know if that's just because my friend has just opened and closed it so many times. It's really well broken in. These knives are just incredible. So glad I have at least these two in my collection to keep. I really, really am digging both of these. And what's great about this lineup is it almost represents every option you can get. The DLC finish on the XL is by far the best DLC I've ever seen. You can quote me on that. The red G10 feels great. On the Synapse regular version, marbled carbon fiber it just looks great. The belt satin is also superb. And then on the mini version, the brown micarta handle is just also great. All these knives are great. If you can't get the message, they're just fantastic. I love them. The belt satin is also phenomenal. And I've heard really, really good things about the hand satin finishes. So there you have it. This is the entire Synapse lineup. I know right now there aren't any available on the Vero site, but if you join the Vero Engineering Facebook page, you can be up to date on upcoming pre-orders and drops, as well as see Veros in the buy-sell trade. Once again, I want to thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.